Mr. President, a lot of people are concerned about how long all of this might last. Do you have any kind of estimate that if Americans really were to band together and do what the White House is suggesting, how quickly you could turn this corner?
My favorite question, I ask it all the time. How many times, Anthony? I think I ask him that question every day, and I speak to Deborah, I speak to a lot of them. I get the opinion. So it seems to me that if we do a really good job, we'll not only hold the death down to a level that is much lower than the other way, had we not done a good job. But people are talking about July, August, something like that. So it could be right in that period of time where it washes through. Other people don't like that term, but where it washes through.
So is this the new normal until the height of the summer?
We'll see what happens, but they think August, could be July, could be longer than that. But I've asked that question many, many times. Yes, please.
The stock market took another hit today. Is the U.S. economy heading into a recession?
Well, it may be. We're not thinking in terms of recession. We're thinking in terms of the virus. Once we stop, I think there's a tremendous pent-up demand, both in terms of the stock market and in terms of the economy. And once this goes away, once it goes through and we're done with it, I think you're going to see a tremendous surge.
So you just told Steve when he asked you about a possibility of recession, you said it may be. I'm curious, if there is a recession, when do you think that might hit?
Well, I don't number one, determine recession. I just say this: we have an invisible enemy. We have a problem that a month ago nobody ever thought about. Nobody I've read about it. I read about many years ago, 1917, 1918. I've seen all of the different problems similar to this that we've had. This is a bad one. This is a very bad one. This is bad in the sense that it's so contagious. It's just so contagious, sort of record-setting type contagion. And the good part is the young people they do very well, and healthy people do very well. Very, very bad for older people, especially older people with problems. My focus is really on getting rid of this problem, this virus problem. Once we do that, everything else is going to fall into place. Yes, please.
If the stocks continue to fall today, would the White House support negative rates?
Best thing I can do for the stock market is we have to get through this crisis. That's what I can do. That's the best thing we can do. That's what I think about. Once this virus is gone, I think you're going to have a stock market like nobody's ever seen before. Can help. And I believe he was one of them. As far as the airlines are concerned, we're going to back the airlines 100%. It's not their fault. It's nobody's fault unless you go to the original source. But it's nobody's fault. And we're going to be in a position to help the airlines very much. We've told the airlines we're going to help them.
They want $25 billion.
Well, we're going to be helping. We're going to be backstopping the airlines. We're going to be helping them very much, John. It's very important.
Does the buck stop with you? And on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your response to this crisis?
I'd rate it a 10. I think we've done a great job. And it started with the fact that we kept a very highly infected country, despite all of even the professionals saying, no, it's too early to do that. We were very, very early with respect to China. And we would have a whole different situation in this country if we didn't do that. I would rate it I would rate ourselves and the professionals. I think the professionals have done a fantastic job. So we broke down the system, and now we have something that's going to be, and is very special.
Universal basic income is a policy where everyone in a society, let's say the United States of America, gets a certain amount of money to meet your basic needs free and clear. Now, this sounds like a very dramatic idea, but it's a very old and American idea. We can easily pay for this if we actually harness the gains from the innovation economy and put it into our citizens' hands.
Why, if there was movement toward it, it was something that was, if not mainstream, certainly
this close, yeah.
Right. Why? What happened between then and you?
I talked to my wife about this, Chris, and what happened from the 60s to now is that we have been collectively conditioned to think that economic value and human value are the same things. That's one reason why you have well-meaning politicians saying we should train thousands of coal miners to become coders. Because if the coal miner job doesn't exist and you don't have market value, then we have to somehow shoehorn you into something that does have market value. And if we fail in that, then you have no value. The local newspaper has no value. The stay-at-home mom has no value. The caregiver has no value. We all have now been conditioned to think of ourselves as like brands, brand of you, always like maintain the hustle, keep up the grind. Like, I mean, I subscribe to some of those things. I mean, I'm an entrepreneur,
I was going to say, you have a background in tech.
But if we see ourselves as economic inputs into this larger capital efficiency machine, we are doomed. And that is the way we see ourselves now. So if you're a politician and you try and champion a human-centered economy, you somehow seem like you're retrograde or against progress. And unfortunately, what's happening now is that capital efficiency and our well-being are diverging very, very sharply. You have record high corporate profits and also record high suicides, drug overdoses, mental health problems.
I just saw for
insecurity.
pay attention to this because of my kids, but for teenagers, suicide is now the second leading cause of death after accidents.
Yes, it's and what we're doing to our kids is unconscionable, really. If you were born in the 40s in the US, you had a 93% chance of doing better than your parents. If you're born in the 90s, you're down to a 50-50 shot and it's declining fast. That's why parents like us feel all this trepidation about the future that lies ahead for our kids. That's why the kids feel trepidation about their own future, as they sense it. And then we're putting them through this meat grinder of a meritocracy. If they're lucky enough to go to college, we're gonna load them up with tens of thousands of dollars in debt. And then they're in college saying, okay, I somehow have to get one of the very, very small handful of secure, lucrative jobs. So they're anxious, they're depressed, even the winners are losing. We have to humanize this economy as quickly as possible, particularly because artificial intelligence is about to come out of the lab and do a number on accounting jobs, legal jobs, radiology jobs. We have to get our shit together. I understand the economy very deeply, and I understand that this economy is not actually working for us anymore. So this campaign is capturing the real problems that are making us miserable, dividing us from each other, turning us against each other, polarizing our political conversations. This is how we can bring the country together, is by getting the boot off our throats.
Health strategy behind some of these guidelines. Telling people to avoid restaurants and bars is a different thing than...
Mr. President, the other day you said that you were not responsible for the testing shortfall. Very simple question. Does the buck stop with you? And on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your response to this crisis?
I'd rate it a 10. I think we've done a great job. And it started with the fact that we kept a very highly infected country, despite all of even the professionals saying, no, it's too early to do that. We were very, very early with respect to China. And we would have a whole different situation in this country if we didn't do that. I would rate it I would rate ourselves and the professionals. I think the professionals have done a fantastic job. Maybe in a different way, a system that wasn't meant to do anything like this, we took it over. As far as the testing, you heard the Admiral. I think the testing that we've done, we really took over an obsolete system, or put it maybe in a different way, a system that wasn't meant to do anything like this. We took it over, and we're doing something that's never been done in this country. And I think that we are doing very well. We took the system, we worked with the system we had, and we broke down the system purposely. We broke it down in order to do what we're doing now. And within a short period of time, and even now, we're testing tremendous numbers of people.
How close are you to shutting down America's northern border with Canada? And
Think about it. We think about it. If we don't have to do it, that'll be good. We have very strong emergency powers when it comes to something like this, both on the southern and the northern borders. And we are talking about different things, but we'll see. Right now, we have not decided to do that.
Dr. Fauci, is there guidance for someone who may have felt sick but then feels better, so you had symptoms but you no longer...
If you are positive for the infection, if you have coronavirus, it is less how you feel than whether or not you're still shedding virus. So the general issue about letting people out of a facility, who, for example, a hospital or whatever, who have been infected, you need 2 negative cultures, the same way that was just described 24 hours apart.
And whether the timetable for vaccine is it possible to accelerate, or is it still 12 to 18 months?
And the vaccine candidate that was given the first injections for the first person took place today. You might recall when we first started, I said it would be 2 to 3 months, and if we did that, that would be the fastest we've ever gone from obtaining the sequence to being able to do a phase 1 trial. This has been now 65 days, which I believe is the record. Be protected, and that's exactly what I've been telling this group over and over again, so it's happened. What it is, it's a trial of 45 normal individuals between the ages of 18 and 55. The trial is taking place in Seattle. There will be 2 injections, one at 0 day, first one, then 28 days. There will be 3 separate doses, 25 milligrams, 100 milligrams, 250 milligrams, and the individuals will be followed for 1 year, both for safety and whether it induces the kind of response that we predict would be protective.
Yeah, no, the market will take care of itself. The market will be very strong as soon as we get rid of the virus.
Could you also speak to the fact about the elections that are supposed to be taking place tomorrow? Is it your advice that those states postpone those elections?
I'd leave that up to the states. It's a big thing, postponing an election. I think, to me, that really goes to the heart of what we're all about. I think postponing an election is a very tough thing. I know they're doing, because they've been in touch with us, they're doing it very carefully. They're spreading people out at great distances, as you can see. And I think they'll do it very safely. I hope they do it very safely. But I think postponing elections is it's not a very good thing.